Hi, Road to Vostok News. Antti has some good news to share. Road to Vostok Early Access launch has been extremely successful in multiple ways and secured the entire development roadmap for the future. 100,000 copies sold, very positive reviews, front page and featured, daily active users of 26,780 and Twitch peak viewers of 31,881. Now for the big chunk. Antti shared with us something similar to a Q&A but much bigger. So let's get started. Launch stats and hotfixes. How things are going? Hi everyone. Road to Vostok launched into early access 5 days ago and has been quite a ride. Here's some info related to ongoing launch and a few other topics as well. Launch stats, ATM copies and units sold, 140,000. Review score, very positive, 3k people daily active users. Average 25,421 Twitch peak viewers, 31,891 for a game with a zero marketing budget. This launch has been extremely successful and secured the entire development roadmap for Road to Vostok. Thank you for all who have purchased the game and trust me as a developer. I will do very best to make sure that these resources from the launch are being utilized in a responsible and smart way to take this project to its next phase. Solo dev dilemma. Being a solo developer has many perks and benefits, but also a lot of limitations when it comes to things like launching your game to a semi-large audience. One of these limitations is your capacity to handle incoming information. For example, I currently have 11,000 unread emails, and most of my communications channel are pretty much running away from me. In practice, this means that when I answer one contact from an email, by the time I have replied to that, there's 4 more, and while you're asleep and you wake up, you have 500 messages behind, and so on. The most logical solution to this problem is that I start hiring some additional help, but unfortunately, that option becomes available only next month, when I can start utilizing these funds from the launch. This being said, if you have sent a bug, report, or tried to contact, there's a high chance that I haven't managed to answer yet. Sorry for that. But hopefully, you understand that one human limitation here. Disclaimer: some of this information flow is linked to key request bots, but they are difficult to filter out completely, since this was my first time launching a game, and I had no prior knowledge how to prepare for those. Upcoming hotfixes. I'm already tempted to start making hotfixes and tweaks. But there's a few lessons learned topics involved. One of those topics is related to my prior experience working under heavy load and foggy mental state. Getting to this early access required pretty insane work hours and stuff that I would not recommend for others. But I made those decisions since I wanted to give this product the best change for the launch, and I hope the effort showed in the game. And how is this related to hotfixes? Well, based on my prior experience, if you start making tweaks and essentially code changes under this heavy load, you can easily fix one thing, but you can accidentally create 2 new problems or some unexpected issues when you are not running on 100% mental clarity. Since the game is performing really well on Steam and works like intended for majority of the players, I really don't want to screw things up by making accidental mistakes. I have decided that it will have this initial personal recovery first, and only after that I will jump back into the code. I think that this is the most reasonable and wise thing to do. Of course, for someone who is trying to launch the game and experiences a crash, you want that hotfix as soon as possible, but since this project still relies on the full-time developer, we want to keep that one developer in working condition for many years to come. I estimate that it will take me around 1 more week once I have caught up with all the bugs, reports, and I'm ready to start implementing certain hotfixes and tweaks for the release build. I already have a good bug category, priority system in place, and I have watched a lot of gameplay from the early access, so the plan for this hotfix is pretty solid and well thought. Once I manage to implement these hotfixes, I'm also going to take a proper break from the development. Never had that in 4 years. Before I start working towards the build 2, meaning the overhaul and the next major additions to the game. Final thoughts. I'm really happy how this launch is going and seeing people enjoy the game. I think that managed to find a good price point and launch date for the release, which is fair and aligned with the current feature set. I also think the game launched at a good state for an early access type. Consider the response and how I feared those hardware related issues, which turned out to be really minimal in large picture. Once again, thanks to everyone who bought the game, provided feedback, left a review, and provided me with this opportunity to secure the entire development roadmap for Road to Vostok. Thanks from the Antti developer.